Hi, my name is Mutali, and today I want to talk about growing up gay in a Muslim family, what my childhood and teenage years in a conservative southern Kazakh city were like, what my relationships with my parents are like now, when I'm an adult and obviously out. On this YouTube channel, I will be talking about gay dating, relationships, and authenticity, often through pop culture and personal stories. So without further ado, let's start. I was born in Shymkent. It's the third biggest city in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a Central Asian country, neighboring Russia and China, and obviously pretty influenced by Russia, specifically because we used to be one country called the Soviet Union, and this is why I'm fluent in Russian. By the way, now I live in another country that used to be occupied by the Soviet Union, and it's Lithuania. So Shymkent, my hometown, is considered to be one of the most conservative Kazakh-speaking religious cities in Kazakhstan. So my parents were no exception. Starting with my name, Mutali, or as English-speaking people usually say Mutali. That is literally Arabic, and it's super rare for Kazakh people. That my whole life people have been telling me that they hear it for the first time ever. My name is one of the 99 names of Allah, and it means the highest, transcendent, and it used to be popular among people who basically brought Islam to Kazakhstan. Yes, my country hasn't always been Muslim, and currently Kazakhstan is a secular state, but most of its population is Muslim. So when I was a kid, I never had a chance to choose whether to believe in Allah or not. I was just taught that He exists, and that's it. My relatives from both sides would constantly do the sacrifice rituals and involve me, a very small child. Back then, I wasn't like super scared of that. But if I was a parent now, I would never make my child do something like this. When I was 12, my father made me learn a couple of chapters from the Quran. It's a Muslim holy book. These are the selected chapters that are usually read at the table during some important events by a man. Additionally, my father would take me to the mosque during some important dates as well. And honestly, he never properly taught me what to do there. Like, I always felt awkward. I was just trying to repeat after older men there. But it was weird to me since I wasn't doing it consciously. And thus, I never really liked going there as I felt that I don't belong there. In general, my father never explained things, but always expected me, a child, to be able to do everything correctly according to the rules. Maybe this is why we never had a good relationship. By the way, at some point when I was a teenager, my parents started performing namaz. It's basically a prayer that Muslims do 5 times a day, and they would fast every year during the Ramadan, a holy month. So all of this obviously deepened my parents' relationships with Islam. Meanwhile, at the age of 10, I realized that I'm gay. If you want me to make a separate video about what helped me understand it, let me know in the comments. But what's interesting is that I've always had this rebellion inside of me. So when I realized that I'm gay, I never felt like something is inherently wrong with me. Maybe it's because I was always a pop culture gay since I was very little. So even the tiniest representation that we had back then somehow made me know that gay people exist, and that's it. And I mean, it was kind of always obvious with me because I've always been told that I'm acting like a girl and my interests were not of a typical boy. I never cared about football. I was obsessed with Harry Potter books, Twilight, and watching MTV. But I knew from the start that I can't tell anyone that because it's unsafe, right? So when I was a kid, I thought that I will never come out, and look at me now. So the older I was getting, the less of an interest I was showing in religion. But my father was always insisting on going to the mosque with him, me reading some duas, like a request to Allah. But it was getting harder for him to persuade me. So later, I graduated from high school and entered a university in Almaty. It's the biggest city in Kazakhstan, and I studied marketing and English there. But the university was known for having a lot of religious stuff and students, so it was very common for people around me to talk about Islam quite often, doing namaz and fasting. I even lived in a dormitory with some guys that actively practiced Islam. By the way, the dorm was designed in the way that boys would live separately from girls, and I think religion was one of the main reasons why. But despite all of that, I didn't get affected in any way. Pretty sure there were some people that started practicing religion more actively after entering the university. I even once had this argument with a homophobic professor back in 2016, like 10 years ago. And I'm actually so proud of myself now. You know, it was like a foreshadowing to what I would become in several years, like an advocate for queer rights and representation. Anyway, those were the years when I was trying to explore my sexuality, but I was really experiencing internalized homophobia since I've always had this feminine, softer side to me, and it was not really welcomed in that space. Reflecting back to those times, I also think that this religious background and me trying to always be this good boy, like, you know, I was this straight A student. All the teachers always really liked me because I was so disciplined and active. I think all of this to some extent helped me survive and get some privileges, but also it made my self acceptance harder because there was always this shame somewhere that I felt for being gay, and especially for having gay sex. I'm 30 now, but I still feel like sometimes, especially after random hookups, I still might feel the shame for doing something wrong, which is obviously not true. Being gay is amazing, and I love this about me. But yeah, for a very long time, I think I couldn't really enjoy sex because I was so in my head thinking I'm doing something so dirty. But fortunately, it's not like this anymore. I learned to stay grounded and enjoy gay sex. But I think my conservative upbringing is one of the reasons why I want to get married to a man now and be in a monogamous relationship, like having a family, living together. And I will make a video about this soon, so don't forget to subscribe. You're probably thinking of what my parents think of my gayness. So back to 2020, I started making TikToks and queerness was one of the main topics. But I never told my parents about that, and with my dad, our relationship was getting worse, so it really didn't make sense to me to share this. But my online presence was getting bigger, and in 2022, my aunt, who I didn't know had an Instagram page and was stalking me, she showed this photo to my father and basically outed me. I had to call my father and discuss it. It was super scary. We were literally yelling at each other. I used this opportunity to tell him everything that I was afraid to tell him when I was a kid. So he said to my mother that he wishes I was never born. And I also confronted him about that, so he couldn't continue with the conversation and just hung up on me. But it was Ramadan back then, a holy month, and my father was obviously fasting, and it's not allowed to have arguments with your close loved ones. And on one of the Fridays, that is considered to be a holy day, he actually texted me saying that he loves me and he apologizes for saying all the things he said and that I'm his son no matter what. I accepted his apology, but unfortunately, it didn't improve our relationship as later he started insisting on me to do namaz, this 5 times a day prayer, and we had an argument again because I didn't want to do that, especially if he thinks that it will cure my homosexuality. So now we barely ever talk. But my relationship with other family members are better now, and I might talk about it more in the future if you want me. And I want to be clear about something. I don't think Islam equals homophobia. I know supportive Muslim people, some of them are even LGBTQ plus themselves. So now I identify as culturally Muslim, but I don't practice it. However, I grew to become a very spiritual person. I believe in the universe, and hopefully, I will talk about it more in the upcoming videos because it is something that affects my approach to dating, relationships, and this is also a big part of my authenticity. So, yeah, stay tuned. If you grew up queer in a religious family, Muslim or not, I'd really love to hear your experience. And if you're interested in conversations about gay love, relationships, and authenticity, you can subscribe to my channel. But for now, bye and see you around.